Hey, we're back on the podcast with Mr. Ken Mack, seasoned dealmaker. That last name is M-A-C-K. Now, Ken has mastered the art of buying businesses using people's money and is now on a mission to help others understand and achieve the same. We're here talking about chasing excellence and about becoming this person that buys businesses the smart way. You can become your own central bank, network with the real 1% club, and start living life. So, Ken, I'm glad and excited to be speaking with you.
You too, Robert. Thanks very much for having me on the show. It's nice to be here.
And it is nice to have you. I'm always inspired by people that really have businesses dialed in, right? It's unfortunate that sometimes you come across someone who they have a skill and then they get a job and that turns into a career and that kind of turns into a business. And that really seems like a hard way, a real uphill battle. But then there's these guys like you who are like really dialed in on the business, on the deal making. They say, I've got delegation skills, I've got leadership skills, I've got financial skills. I can buy a business, I can grow it, I can kind of just be someone that moves the pieces on the chessboard around. It seems a lot more interesting and exciting, but perhaps a new way of thinking. So I'm excited to jump into kind of a lot of your mindset. But what just has you excited these days? What gets you excited to jump out of bed in the morning and go get to it?
Yeah, it's a good question, and that question's probably evolved over the years. But just now, I've got a very expensive hobby, which is racing cars. So, with an expensive hobby, you need to have a way to fund that. So for me, buying businesses and creating multiple streams of income is my vehicle. And then that allows me to enjoy the event, which is going out with fellow brothers to enjoy racing cars on various different racing tracks all over UK and Europe and in the Middle East. So I guess the stage I've got to now in life, I do love business. It does get a little bit stale after a while. After it gets very repetitive. So it is nice to reward yourself as well, and have these events to look forward to. And for me, that's what it is just now at this stage in life.
Very nice. You work hard and you play hard. And I agree that it's very important to have the discipline that business requires. But then with the discipline comes that repetition, comes that boredom. And then it's really important, as they say, to have a reason why, or to have fun hobbies, or to, do the deals and build your business and then go and do the networking and go and have fun and switch back and like really live life, because we only get one and we can't go back in time. We can't relive. And sometimes there's this kind of conventional timeline that people are on where they don't even get to begin living life until they're 50, 60, maybe never, which is unfortunate. So we want to tap in to what you have figured out. And so what's the plan, so to speak, when you say you do these things like crypto and legally paying zero tax and like using other people's money to buy businesses? Like, what's it all about? How can we follow in your footsteps?
Yes, I guess for me, it started, back when I was 20 years of age. And I'm just a normal guy that was in all sorts of different jobs, from McDonald's, flipping burgers, and every normal working class job that you can think of. But I came to the conclusion that it was unemployable. I just had a problem with authority, like many people do, and I just value my freedom. I was very conscious that you mentioned time is moving very quickly, and I was very conscious of that from a young age. Watching people go to university for me made no sense. 6 years, 7 years, no guaranteed outcome of a job, loaded up with a lot of debt as well. So, I loved the business world, but I had no idea about business, how to start a business. I just knew that I wanted one. So, I'll be honest. I completely winged it when I was younger, and I just went in there and I gave it my best shot, and I decided to go out there and buy a business. It was the best thing I ever done, because I felt, as being a worker, if you've got this pre-programming in your minds, going through school and going into jobs that you need to serve a role and a function in a job. So for me, I felt a bit like an imposter, that I should actually be doing something, but it felt very strange when everybody was doing their jobs and then I was receiving all of the money coming in, and I was like, okay, this is a bit strange. And then I was able to work from the laptop. So that, since 20 years when that really wasn't a thing. So I was working remotely organise my team. I took the opportunity to move to 300 days of sunshine after living in 300 days of rain in Spain. And I guess just running this commercial cleaning business from the beach, from the swimming pool, because for me that was, I just felt like I died and went to heaven. And it was just a case of buying a business. It was a commercial cleaning business. It was well organised. It made a reasonable amount of money. And I just really felt like I'd retired because I was making money without having to exchange or sell my time to an employer to recompensate me a small amount of money, which just really traps you into a very bad system. So I would say that my goal was never to be. I didn't have this plan to become a billionaire or have X amount of millions in the bank. That was never important to me. The important goal for me was getting to a stage which allowed me to have freedom to enjoy my life, which then later transpired to me having a family, being able to spend more time with the family, and not be answerable to anybody, and have to just having to ask somebody for to take a week off of work, putting a holiday request in when you can only get 30 days of holiday a year, which I just think is a horrendous system when we're going to die soon. So I remind myself every day that we wake up that we are going to die soon. So I've always been looking at ways to hack the system, ways to, you mentioned paying zero tax, but there's many components to what I do. I'm a freedom fighter, and I'm going out there to find various different ways to hack the system, create my own system, become my own central bank, looking at what the big players in the world are doing, what the banks are doing, stacking gold, stacking silver. So instead of keeping money in the bank, I'll go out and I'll look at ways of taking that money and investing in gold and silver and treating that as, for example, as a savings account. I took the opportunity to move out of the UK, which anybody can do. It doesn't matter if you're in the UK or the USA. And I moved to the UAE, to Dubai, where it's zero income tax. There's zero VAT if you're trading with customers outside of the jurisdiction. There's no corporation tax. There's no pay as you earn. There's no national insurance. So you really can live this incredible lifestyle just by stepping out of your cage. My cage at that time was the UK, and UK is a horrendous tax jurisdiction, which is I would say that the system here in the UK is designed to punish success, and it despises masculinity. So everything that I stand for, masculinity and success, is completely punished and frowned upon in the place that I was born. And I think we're living in very difficult times just now, and I totally understand why we have a mental health crisis and with this young generation, because we have this social media thing now with all of these guys pushing these dream lifestyles on social media, where everybody's driving their Ferraris and their Bugattis and all of these crazy things. And it's like the world is a mess, and social media hasn't helped with these fake narratives. But I can tell you right now that my life, it wasn't an overnight success, and it wasn't one day driving a Fiat, next day driving a Ferrari. It was a step by step by step by step. But doing what I do is very organic, very holistic, and you can really go from zero to hero in a short space of time. But that time horizon is, I would say, realistically, it's 5 years. 3 to 5 years, and absolutely anybody can do what I do. It's a skill called a leveraged buyout, where you're buying a business without any of your own money, through other people's money, and using various different vehicles and financial opportunities that are available to you. So, for example, in USA, you've got the SBA 7A loan, which is a government-backed loan that you can get 90% of the money with a government-backed loan to buy a business up to the value of $5 million. So there's so many different ways that you can do what I do. It's more difficult in the UK. In the USA, it's 100 times the opportunity than what it is in the UK. The USA is a beautiful jurisdiction for this. So I just don't know why more people are not buying businesses. It just, to me, it doesn't make sense why you would start a business when you can just buy one.
And I posit to you that maybe the reason why it's not done more is because people are afraid and people are unaware. They don't even know that this can be done and it's possible. And then even when someone like you comes across this, you say, hey, look, I did it. I bought the commercial cleaning business. Then there's immediately resistance, right? There's immediate like, I can't do it for all these different reasons, right? I can't get the SBA loan. what if it fails? What if I don't have the skills? There's all this doubt. And it seems to me like it's you're living an incredible life here, Mr. Ken, and you're what they call playing on a whole other level than the rest of us, right? And I think that we need to find out about how this works and what your story is. And so I'm coming in this as a total newbie, but I've heard some of these other people similar to you who've done things like this, right? They find like a recession-proof type of business. They find something that's boring, overlooked, right? Commercial cleaning, laundromat, something like that, and then they like look at like the financials and like the soundness of the business, and they buy it. They get someone else to they get a loan, or they get someone else to put up the money in exchange for like equity. And I see these LinkedIn posts where they say like, I found this business, right? I found this hotel or something, and they like list out the numbers, and it's incredible just to kind of live vicariously. And so I'm really curious about like, so buying this commercial cleaning business, like, did you do a lot of research? Like, what were the decisions that you made that led you to doing what you did?
Yes, I just want to touch on one point that you've made there. You mentioned the fear and the SBA loans, and maybe not, or having doubts that you would get qualified for an SBA loan. I actually had this problem when I was younger, where my credit history was completely destroyed. I just destroyed my credit history when I was younger, so I had to find a way to buy businesses and to get by without using any consumer credit at all. So again, this is what I mean by hacking the system. I have found the way to create your own system, which allows you to bypass that completely, legally, properly, to buy businesses, even if your credit is not in a good place. So it can get a lot of people down. It can make you very depressed because you haven't got this thing dialed into your head where if you don't have your credit history or your FICO score at X, 700 or 800, then it's over. You can't get your mortgage, you can't do this, you can't get that. But the credit system is designed for consumers, and consumerism is something you want to stay well away from. This is a whole different game. So I just wanted to point that out, because I know that we probably have listeners that are in that position, the unfortunate position, where they are worried about their credit score, and they have this limiting belief now that they might not be able to get any further in life because they have this awful FICO score. That's, what we call it in the USA, but in the UK we just call it a credit score. But yeah, what took me to that decision to buy a commercial cleaning business? So at a young age, I was renting a room from a landlord in this multi-family property, and this gentleman, he had he had a cleaning business, a window cleaning business, and a commercial cleaning business. So I was completely fascinated with this guy who would split his property up into 5 or 6 different units, 5 rooms, and then instead of having one family staying in the property, he multiplied the income by 5 because he rented each room out to a different household. You call it in the UK a house of multiple occupation, an HMO. So like, wow, this guy really living his life, and he's buying this Audi R8 supercar. Like, wow, Mike is very inspiring. And I said to him one day, I said, what's telling me about your cleaning business? And to cut a long story short, he said, well, I've got this window cleaning business. He said, I've let it go to shit, but if you want to resurrect the cleaning business, I'll take you in the car around all of the houses. I'll point them out to you. You write down the addresses, and if you want to knock on all the doors, you can put it together and just give me a donation for the business. So I did that. I went around all of the properties. I put together this beautiful window cleaning business. That gave me my first lift in life. Within 6 months, I was making a lot of money. Sold it to my father's window cleaning business, local business. They bought the round off of me, so I got a reasonable sum of money. Gave Mike a donation for the business. I was very grateful for the opportunity. So that was my first intro into, I guess, buying a business and selling a business. And I thought, right, I need to have something like what Mike has, because this is just incredible. I was mind blown by the fact that this guy had this cleaning business. He was cleaning supermarkets and banks and all of these commercial units. So for me, this I was very young, but my mind was blown. Like, I wanted to have this. So I get stuck into the Yellow Pages, which was a big book at the time. I'd go through all of the pages, and it was phoning all of the businesses to express my enthusiasm to potentially buy their business if they're interested in selling. And eventually, one woman called me back and said she's looking at retiring. She likes me, and maybe we can meet and speak and make a deal. So I got the seller to give me most of the business by seller finance. It was making six figures per year at the time. That was a phenomenal amount of money. So I guess there was a stroke of luck. I was just persistent. I eventually found a deal. I didn't know what an LBO was. I was just determined to find a way to buy this business with the small amount that I had. And I had the seller finance. In the UK, we would call it deferred consideration. And I just had this opportunity to take over this beautiful business, which completely changed my life. The quickest way to learn something is to do it. I guess it's a bit like they say the quickest way to learn something is to teach it. So I just got involved in this business, and it was the best thing that ever happened to me. And one thing led to another, and to cut a long story short, at the age of 25, I'd sold the business for a substantial sum of money, and I was semi-retired.
Well, very cool. I love it. And there's so many cool lessons in what you said there, right? There's like the burning desire and the persistence and the being hungry for knowledge, but also not letting the knowledge get in your way of saying, well, let's figure out just enough. Let's figure out things like seller financing. Let's call around. Let's talk to the people and just get ourselves some options. And so when there's these kind of decisions to be made, right? Like buying a business, getting a loan, it can be really scary, right? It's a sudden shift in your entire lifestyle. And so as far as like the do's and don'ts of what you do, like sometimes you hear about them saying, well, like find out the reason why someone's selling the business, right? Is the business dying, or are they just like old and retiring? You hear about some of these things like put an operator in charge. But again, I don't know anything about this topic. You're the expert. So as far as like, are there any regrets, or are there any things you did right? Like, what are the do's and don'ts of buying a business?
Yeah, so I would say there was many things I probably did wrong because I didn't have a mentor. Back then, I was living in the middle of nowhere in the countryside, no support group or network. A lot of the local business groups were kind of just, it just wasn't my vibe at all. So I was very alone in the journey. I was buying many books, and I've got two bookcases beside me here in the deal making factory full of books, behind me here and over here. But actually, one of the very first books that got my business journey moving was The Secret by Rhonda Byrne. Speaking about the law of attraction. I think everybody in business have read this book, but that for me, it gave me the mindset, because my mindset was wrong. It was evolving. I wouldn't say it was wrong. It was evolving, and it was new. It was a seed. So, I just grew from that seed with that book. One thing led to another, and then the whole knowledge thing for me became a virus. I just wanted to learn, and it became an addiction. And ever since then, I've never stopped learning. Podcasts, audiobooks, physical books, even in M&A. I'm still learning. When they say, there's a saying, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. So you always want to remain the student, and that's me. I do a bit of teaching, so I teach how to buy businesses, but I'm still always learning. There's always something new that I'm like, oh, wow, that's interesting. So it's like even yesterday, I was speaking to a gentleman who's kind of doing what I'm doing, but he's like, Ken, instead of positioning yourself as an acquisition company, what I do is when I'm looking at prospects, so businesses to buy, I'm fronting myself as an M&A advisor / broker, so that if I don't like the company and I don't want to buy it personally, I turn the negative into a positive, and I offer to help them sell their business. So I charge them a fee. I get them on bizbuysell.com, and then I take a commission when they sell with the company. I just get them like a premium listing on BizBuySell, and I turn every negative into a positive. So even the companies and the customers that I don't want to deal with, I'm making money from them. I'm like, wow, okay. I never thought of that. What a great way to make some residual income and to turn the negatives into a positive, because like what I'm teaching my guys is we set up a company, so we call it an SPV, so just an LLC, limited company, and then we set ourselves up as an acquisition company. So we're going out there with our company, and then that company is going to buy the company that, or the business that we are looking at buying. So, for example, we would call the business, the SPV, Mack Acquisitions. So say, hey, Mr. Business Buyer, this is Mack Acquisitions here, Ken. If you've been, are you looking at selling your business? If so, reach out. Here is my contact details. If you're looking at making an exit, then I'd like to speak to you about that, because we've been in the game of buying and selling businesses for the last 20 years. And if for one out of every 50 letters or emails that we put out, usually somebody contacts us back. So yeah, I'm just kind of digging into one of our lead generation methods, because like you got to think outside the box, right? When you if you're just looking on bizbuysell.com, then you get so many other people that are looking at that one business that you're trying to buy, and you have a lot of unnecessary competition. So you got to do things differently and think outside the box. So this is actually how I started buying. My first business, a commercial cleaning business. I was going through the yellow pages, and then there was cold calling, and then just saying who I was, expressing my interest. Are you looking at exiting? Are you looking at retiring? If so, I'd like to help you. You got to remember as well, everything in life is the result of a sale or a commission. And everything is marketing. Everything is sales and marketing. So one of the biggest lessons for me is just to become a very good salesman, and to learn from all of these other expert sales people that have written these amazing books. I've got one behind me right there. It's called The Straight Line Selling System by Jordan Belfort. It's a great book.
Oh yeah.
I met that guy in person. You've got Grant Cardone, Sell or Be Sold. Met Grant many times. Great marketer.
Oh
And
yeah.
these people that have got all of that wisdom, you need to listen to what they have to say, because they've been in the game of selling for a very long time. And when you understand that everything in life is the result of a sale or a commission, like Grant Cardone says, when you're going out to find a wife, you are selling yourself to the lady. The lady is the commission from the sale.
Sure.
So when you become a very good salesman, you should be able to get yourself a very good looking wife. Me, for example, I'm not the best looking guy in the world, and I've got myself a beautiful wife because I'm a good salesman, because I've been developing these skills over the years. I've been learning body language. I've been taking my time to listen to podcasts, get myself around elite people. Not at the beginning of my business buying journey, but I would say in my mid-20s, from 25 to 30, I started getting around all the right people to these big events, consuming all the knowledge through these books, and meeting these people in person. It just becomes very infectious. And once, like, I'm not the same person that I was 10 years ago, 15 years ago. All of these people, they change you, they help you to evolve. And all of this new knowledge that you get, you think, wow, this is incredible. And you just start to evolve into this completely different person.
100%. And I love that you're on this journey, and I do my best to do something similar, right? To be around the right people. They call it guilt by association, right? If you went to the bad part of town, if you hung out under a bridge, if you started committing crimes with people, then you'd be in jail just like them, right? You'd kind of be on this downward spiral, but then you have this choice of who you hang around with, so to speak, right? You have a choice of what books to read, what podcasts to listen to, including Mr. Ken Mack here on a podcast. You have the choice about what networking you do, who you talk to on social media, what masterminds you attend, all these different tools that are available. And we just have to go out and get it. And so I love the messages that you're saying here, Mr. Ken, how everything is a sale. And whenever someone brings up sales, my brain starts breaking it down into these different pieces, right? Like, well, who am I prospecting for? And you say, you get the yellow pages and start making calls. The real estate guys talk about sending the yellow letters in the mail, right? They say, I don't just limit myself to what's publicly listed because there's competition. I'm going to look at what else there is. And there's a lot of work up front. But if you know your math, like you mentioned there about how, like, if 1 out of every 50 is promising, then how do you kind of lead, how do you get on that path? And then when you talk about making the sale, you say, well, it's a fun exercise to think about how it works as far as you like getting a partner of some kind, right? There's a romantic partner, there's the like partner in the business sense of like who can sell me their business. And you mentioned Cardone. He tells some story about like he went to some computer store, right, to like get a laptop, and the salesperson didn't ask any questions. He just started spouting off features, and Cardone's like, well, he didn't ask me like, are you using it for work or for email or for gaming? And so it's like you in sales, like you kind of inch someone along and say like, what do they want and need, and how can I give value to them? So even if you're not the best looking guy, you want a hot wife. Well, what does hot future wife want from you? And how can you make that happen? It's a lot more interesting and fun and more of an adventure for us to think about. And so I just, my brain lights on fire talking to you, Mr. Ken, about all of these possibilities. But since it's just a podcast, then we only have time for a little bit of a taste or a tease. So as far as someone finding out about the Ken Mack Show on YouTube, Ken Mack on Instagram, and all the other things you have going on, like what are some next steps here? If they say, man, this guy Ken, he's got a lot of great stuff to say, I'm really impressed, but I want more, how can someone get more from you?
I'm very active on Instagram, and my handle is very easy. It's just my name, Ken Mack. And if you look at my bio as well, there's a link there to some beautiful free training that me and an ex-student of mine, now business partner, that put together that break down the process of buying a business. It's free of charge, by the way, so you can go on. It's lasts a couple of hours, and it really starts to dig into what we do on a deeper level and how we make it happen. Because when you say bang a business with no money down, it just sounds a bit boohoo, right? It's but that's really how it's done. We're working on another deal just now that's no money down. We did 2 months ago, no money down, and we break it down we call it Triple8 Club. So click the link and go and join the free training. See what you think, and if you like it, there is an option where you can get on a meeting and then you can speak further about our private network. We call it the Inner Circle, Triple8 Club Inner Circle, with my student, Paul, who's going to give you all of the answers to the questions that you have. And if you want to reach out to me, give me a DM. I'm very active as well, and I'll be very happy to answer any of your questions. But yeah, you mentioned something very, very interesting. You said guilt by association. And this is 100% correct. I always they completely overuse this saying, but you really do become the average of the 5 people that you spend the most time with, and that's why joining a network of like-minded individuals is the most important thing you could ever do, because your network, it really is your net worth. And they say, show me your friends, and I'll show you your future. So it's better to have 1 or 2 friends that are on the same page as you than 5 friends who are not. Because life is too short to mess about, and freedom is the ultimate end goal, and that's exactly what I preach on my social media to help other fellow brothers and sisters level up as hard and fast as physically and humanly possible.
Very nice. Well, then it's time to get to it. It's Ken Mack on Instagram, KenMack, to build a business the smart way by buying it. Instead of creating it from scratch, find someone that's already done something that's successful and figure out the deal to be made. And of course, there are challenges, struggles, things to figure out, things to learn. But that's why you associate yourself with the right people. You read the right books, you take the right advice, and you figure it out. You be an actual modern human being and say, hey, life changes so much, but I need to continuously learn. I need to improve my skills. I need to maybe simplify my skills. I need to go back and say, hey, what I've been doing so far, it's been doing great, but could it be done better? Could I be that broker who then, if it's not a right fit for someone to sell me their business, I can go and help them get that listed and figure out a way to do this process even better. There's just an amazing life ahead of Mr. Ken Mack, and an amazing life ahead of the person watching or listening to this podcast. But you have to go to Instagram.com/Ken Mack, follow him, send him a DM, and check out that link, the resources, the 888 Club. So that way you can be one of these legends that buys a business and learn from Ken and his student how they did it, buy a business and not start one. So as people are headed to @Ken Mack on Instagram, Mr. Ken, it's time for the end part of the show, the scary part. where I try to stump you, I try to put you on the spot. I ask for a fun or interesting quote or lesson that has served you in business or in life. And you've already shared some incredible ones, but in the spirit of ending our conversation with a bang instead of a whimper, what do you have for us as far as a fun quote or lesson?
Yeah, I would say that it would be show me your friends and I'll show you your future. Go out there and audit your circle. And the easiest way to predict somebody's future is to take a look at the 5 people that you spend the most time with, and you're literally going to become the average of that. So if the outcome is going to be a little bit scary for you, then I think you're going to have to go out there and just make the hard decision to stand back and re-audit your circle. Go out there and audit your circle on a regular basis, and you're going to take your future into your own hands. You really do become the average of the 5.
Very great advice. Audit that circle, make those hard decisions, and figure out who your team is, right? They say, Mr. Ken, if you want to go fast, go alone, but if you want to go far, go together. So figure out who are those people who are on your team, who are on the journey with you, whoever that may be. And the first step to doing that is by going and following Mr. Ken Mack on Instagram and checking out his amazing resources. So that way we can always do better, right? We can always figure out, well, where is my life headed and how can I chase excellence? Well, you chase excellence by going to @KenMack on Instagram, and we'll see you there. And thank you, Mr. Ken, for impressing us, wowing us, giving us this amazing advice and these stories. It's very generous. It's tapping into that abundance mindset. I appreciate what you said, and I appreciate you too.
Thank you so much, Robert. It's been a pleasure being on the show with you.